These bullies thought they'd picked an easy target, but they had no idea they were messing with the wrong family. The movie opens with Mafia hitman Rocco brutally murdering a family of 4, believing them to be the Manzonis. He severs the father's finger and sends it to Don Lucchese, his mafia boss imprisoned in New York. But when the fingerprint results come back, it's confirmed Rocco killed the wrong family. Furious, Lucchese orders Rocco to continue the hunt. Meanwhile, the real Manzoni family, under the FBI's witness protection program, arrives in Normandy, France. Giovanni, the former mafia boss turned informant, is on the run with his wife Maggie, their kids Belle and Warren, and their dog, Malavita. Years ago, Giovanni snitched on Lucchese to escape a hit, sending the crime boss to prison. Since then, Lucchese's men have pursued Giovanni relentlessly, forcing the family to move constantly and assume new identities. Their latest hideout is a remote house they reach in the dead of night. While unpacking, Giovanni discreetly drags a body from the car trunk and buries it in the backyard before casually inspecting the property. The next morning, the family begins settling into their new routines. Maggie explores the town, but her worst fears are confirmed. At a local cafe, she overhears locals mocking Americans in French, assuming she can't understand. Enraged, Maggie grabs supplies from a convenience store, rigs the storeroom with flammable materials, and ignites it. She calmly pays for her groceries and walks out just as the store erupts in flames. Belle and Warren head to school, each facing unique challenges. Warren quickly clashes with bullies after making snarky comments.
If you're American, you must be rich.
You must have read some pretty big books to get to be the big intellectual. What game are you in? Bullying, protection, shakedowns? What do you reinvest your dough in?
Despite the beating he receives, Warren is unbothered. He's already observing the school's social hierarchy, planning to establish his own mini-mafia network. Belle encounters a different kind of trouble. Walking home, she's tailed by a group of teenage boys who invite her for a ride. Initially hesitant, Belle agrees after losing her way, but instead of taking her home, the boys drive her to a lakeside hangout. When their leader gets handsy and makes suggestive comments, Belle retaliates. She grabs a tennis racket from the car and beats him senseless, warning the others to treat women with respect.
This is your approach to women? Girls are not some toys that you in the park, okay?
Then, she commandeers their car and drives herself home. Meanwhile, Giovanni sneaks out to the property gate for a forbidden cigarette. He spots FBI agents hidden nearby, keeping watch, and heads back inside. Curious, he investigates the glass garden shed, tossing out clutter until he uncovers a functioning typewriter. Inspired, he decides it's time to start writing his memoir, chronicling how he rose to power as a mafia boss, continuing the family legacy started by his grandfather. During a break, Giovanni meets his neighbor through their adjoining backyards. When asked about his profession, he improvises a cover story about being a writer. That evening, the family is visited by Robert Stansfield, the FBI agent overseeing their case. Stansfield approves of Giovanni's writer cover, but brings up the mysterious disappearance of a local shop owner. Giovanni denies involvement, though in reality, he killed the man for selling him frozen seafood disguised as fresh, the body buried in the backyard. Stansfield warns Giovanni to avoid trouble and introduces the FBI agent stationed across the street to Sicko and Mama before leaving. That night, Giovanni has a nightmare about the barbecue party years ago where Lucchese tried to assassinate him. The next morning, when Giovanni becomes too engrossed in his writing, Maggie confronts him. She panics upon learning he's working on a memoir, warning that it could jeopardize their safety. Frustrated, Maggie takes a tray of specially prepared food to Sicko and Mama, but first asks Giovanni to check the tap water, which is running brown. Meanwhile, Warren gains influence at school by leveraging information and stolen goods to recruit allies for his budding network. Belle faces her own school drama, beating up a girl in the bathroom for stealing her pencil case. Later in the cafeteria, she notices a handsome substitute math teacher, Henri, and asks him for private lessons after class, which he agrees to. Elsewhere, Warren lures the bullies outside the school and ambushes them with his newfound contacts, taking them down with ruthless efficiency. Back at home, a plumber arrives over 40 minutes late, testing Giovanni's patience. When the plumber suggests replacing all the pipes unnecessarily, Giovanni snaps, attacking him with tools from the basement. He loads the injured man into his van and drives him to the hospital, where the baffled doctor questions how a fall down the stairs could cause so many fractures. As Giovanni continues working on his memoir, Rocco tracks down the seafood shop owner's family and murders them for failing to provide Giovanni's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Giovanni reminisces in his writing about how he once ruled his Brooklyn neighborhood with a firm but fair hand. That evening, Maggie scolds him for attacking the plumber, but Giovanni counters by bringing up her destruction of the convenience store. Their fiery argument turns playful, leading to a passionate moment on the couch. When the weekend arrives, the family hosts a barbecue at Stansfield's insistence to blend in with the community. Maggie teases Belle about inviting Henri, warning her to be cautious. Belle reassures her mother, stating that she's saving intimacy for the right time and place with someone she truly loves. Warren shows up with bottles of soda, urging his mother to ditch French cuisine for American dishes, predicting that's what the neighbors expect. He's proven right, the guests intrigued by the eccentric Yankees. Even DeSico and Mima are allowed to step out of their watchroom to join the barbecue. The only one absent is Giovanni, whom Belle finds in the garden shed. Reflecting on his life through his writing has felt like staring into a mirror for hours. He admits to Belle that he regrets not being a better father and for dragging his family into dangerous situations. Belle, however, reassures him, saying she considers him the best dad in the world. Encouraged by her words, Giovanni returns to the party, only to become annoyed when neighbors start lecturing him on how to light the grill. He imagines all the ways he could punish them for their condescension, but is interrupted by the arrival of Stansfield. In private, Stansfield warns Giovanni that his memoir is raising concerns in the White House since it could expose sensitive information. Giovanni assures him the book is for personal reflection and won't be published. Stansfield also notes that Giovanni's testimony against Lucchese has encouraged other mobsters to cooperate with the FBI for protection, resulting in a wave of defections from the Mafia. The party ends with Belle feeling disappointed. Henri never showed up. The next day, Giovanni confronts the mayor about the brown water issue, but the mayor has no solutions. Giovanni fantasizes about beating him up, but leaves without causing trouble. He then visits the water company and confirms that the water is already contaminated when it reaches their reserves. A worker points him toward a fertilizer factory as the likely source of the problem. At the factory, Giovanni confronts the boss, who dismisses his complaints. Enraged, Giovanni ties the man to the back of his car and drags him down the road until the boss spills the truth. There's a turbine causing the contamination. Giovanni gets the information he needs and leaves the man stranded with a bike, threatening to castrate him if he tells anyone what happened. Back at home, Giovanni catches Stansfield reading his manuscript. Although Stansfield admits it's well-written, he reprimands Giovanni for writing something so incriminating. Meanwhile, Maggie continues visiting the church. The priest eventually persuades her to confess, promising confidentiality. However, Maggie's confession is so shocking that it haunts the priest for a week, and he bans her from returning to the church.
You can't stay here. Your confession has haunted me all week. Your family is the incarnation of evil. Leave this holy place.
At school, Warren forgets to submit an article for the school paper and hastily writes a quote from Lucchese that he remembers from his childhood. The newspaper circulates widely, eventually reaching Lucchese in his prison cell. Recognizing the quote, Lucchese orders his men to head to Normandy and find Giovanni. Belle, meanwhile, visits Henri after class. The encounter becomes intimate, and they make love behind a locked classroom door. Later, a neighbor calls Giovanni, inviting him to a community film event. They plan to watch an American classic and want Giovanni to lead the discussion as a writer. Giovanni agrees, but Stansfield, who overhears the call, rushes over to warn him against it. Giovanni insists this is a great opportunity to blend in and convinces Stansfield to attend the event with him. The following day, Warren's illicit activities are discovered by the school board. Panicked, he rushes home to grab money and fake documents, planning to flee to Paris and start a new criminal enterprise, just like his father did at 13. Before leaving, he says goodbye to Belle, who is heartbroken after learning Henri only saw her as a fling. Henri has now graduated and is also leaving for Paris. Meanwhile, Giovanni sneaks out of the house, leaving a doll in his seat to fool the FBI agents monitoring him. He heads to the fertilizer factory and plants a bomb on the turbine, contaminating the water supply. Afterward, Giovanni and Stansfield head to the film event, only to learn that the night's movie is Goodfellas. Stansfield immediately deems this a disastrous idea, but Giovanni points out that leaving now would only draw more suspicion. As the movie ends, the audience asks Giovanni to comment on how accurately it portrays life in New York. Unable to resist, Giovanni begins recounting stories from his time as a mafia boss. The crowd assumes he's spinning fictional tales, laughing along, but Stansfield is not amused. Believing Giovanni is spiraling out of control, Stansfield calls DeSicco and Mima to enact Plan B, evacuate the family. Meanwhile, Warren waits at the station for a train to Paris, and Belle sits on the roof of a house, tearfully calling Henri. She threatens to kill herself if he doesn't take her back. Before either sibling can act further, they spot a group of mafia hitmen arriving in town. Realizing their family is in danger, Warren and Belle rush back home. The hitmen quickly overrun the town, killing everyone at the police station to retrieve Giovanni's address. They also take out firefighters and sabotage the fire trucks. At the same time, Maggie joins DeSicco and Mima, worried about her missing children. Suddenly, an explosion rocks the city, the bomb Giovanni planted at the fertilizer factory. He timed it to go off during the movie event to establish an alibi. Stansfield rushes Giovanni back to the house, warning him to stay put while he goes to handle the authorities. Maggie also tries to head home, but freezes when she spots the hitmen prowling the streets. She retreats to DeSicco and Mima's place, where she tries calling Giovanni again, but he still doesn't pick up. The hitmen soon reach Giovanni's house and blow it up, killing any neighbors who come outside to investigate. Giovanni survives thanks to Malavita's barking, which alerts him to hide in the garden. Maggie, desperate to return to him, watches in horror as DeSicco and Mima are killed instantly when they try to approach the door. One of the hitmen corners Maggie, threatening to assault her before finishing her off. Giovanni arrives just in time, attacking the hitman from behind and asphyxiating him. Maggie grabs a knife and stabs the attacker, ensuring he's dead. Meanwhile, Warren and Belle arrive at the smoldering ruins of the house. They quietly raid the hitmen's cars for weapons. A chaotic gunfight erupts, with the siblings managing to eliminate most of the hitmen. Only Rocco, the leader, remains. During the fight, Warren is knocked unconscious by the recoil of a weapon. Belle, determined to protect him, flees, hoping Rocco's empty gun will give her an advantage. However, Rocco proves relentless and chases her. Just as it seems Belle might be caught, Stansfield appears out of nowhere and runs Rocco over with his car. With the hitmen eliminated, the danger isn't over. The family's cover is blown. Giovanni, Maggie, Warren, and Belle are forced to relocate yet again. The end. Thanks for watching.